Hello and welcome to today's video where I'm going to discuss my experience doing my 6-month beauty no-buy. Towards the end of last year, I was considering doing a 6-month no-buy for the first half of this year. There were loads of different reasons. The main one, I suppose, was that we were getting married at the end of April and I knew that we were going to have some extra expenses that we wouldn't normally have. So I kind of thought, okay, I want to try and save money where I can. And one of those areas is obviously beauty products, because a lot of the time I'm buying things that I don't need. So I kind of thought, okay, that's a big reason to try and save a bit of money or try and not spend money. Another reason is obviously reduce my consumption. Being in the world of like content creation and influencing, you see the amount of waste that is a result of this industry. And honestly, it is kind of a little bit scary sometimes. Over the past few years since I've been doing these empties posts and videos, it has kind of made me realize how much waste I produce myself. And of course, that makes me think about how much waste other content creators and influencers also produce. I want to consider what I'm bringing into my home, what I'm spending my money on, all of that kind of stuff. It's important to me to try and reduce my consumption of material goods as much as possible. It doesn't always happen, but it's something that I try to do. That is another reason I wanted to just see if I could reduce my consumption. Obviously, PR is another reason. I receive press drops now and then. On the scale of numbers, I'm kind of lower down. I have, I think, just under 7,000 followers, maybe 6,500, I think, on Instagram alone. And the amount of pure waste that is generated through that alone is quite a lot. You know, when you consider packaging, printed out press releases, all of that kind of stuff. But also, I knew that I would have enough PR products to sustain me with kind of doing reviews and kind of bringing some kind of newness into my content, that it won't be kind of stale and it will kind of keep it going. The unfortunate thing about content creation is that newness is how people grow. People want to see reviews of new products, they want to see you trying new products, and that is what gets the most views. So sadly, you have to have some kind of newness at some point in your content for it to grow to a certain point, which, you know, is annoying, but it is what it is. Another reason is that I was feeling a little bit lackluster with my creativity. It was kind of waning a little bit, and I wanted to kind of take the emphasis off newness and put the emphasis back onto creativity, finding things that make me excited to do my makeup, taking inspiration from movies, music, art, music videos, nature, everything around me, to get back to what I love the most, which is just being creative and just painting my face and seeing where it takes me. And I think when you're purely focused on new products and reviews, it takes a lot of that creativity away, because you have to stay inside these certain parameters because you're testing out new makeup. So you have to just use one palette or one foundation or one blush or one color story. And for me, that stifles my creativity, and it makes me, it kind of reduces my excitement, shall I say, unless it's something that's like really exciting, you know, like a really great color story of a palette or like an eye product or something like that. Unless it's something like that, it will kind of just reduce my creativity overall, because if I'm thinking, okay, I have to review this product, so I just have to use this product, it doesn't excite me as much as me just having like a blank slate and being able to say, okay, what am I going to do today? And I can literally use anything. Overall, just focusing on art and creativity and just doing things that make me happy and excite me and inspire me, instead of constantly focusing on consumption and new products and getting a review up in time and all of that kind of stuff, because that's not really what I like to do with my content. I'm definitely somebody who prefers to create and inspire and, you know, just explore and play around, rather than, you know, having to do something by a certain time, like feeling the pressure to get a review up because you know that if you leave it too long, it won't get any views or no one will be interested because everyone will have already reviewed that product. So those things are not as fun for me. I like reviews and I think reviews are very important, and I want to provide content that's going to be helpful and that's going to help people spend their money more wisely and not just buy things because they're new, and maybe think about how is this product going to fit into my collection as it stands. Am I actually going to use it, or do I just want it because it's shiny and new? Those are kind of the reasons that I wanted to do this no buy. Another reason, I suppose, is just to see if I could, to challenge myself, because I suppose I've never done this before seriously. A couple of years ago, I did try and do I think I tried to do a 3-month no buy and I failed miserably. I think I ended up buying more products because I felt like I couldn't. So then like once I started, I was like, well, I might as well buy everything because like I've already broken it. So that was a disaster. And I kind of thought this time I have a good reason to do it, which was the wedding, and I wanted to save money, or not spend money, should I say. I had like a really valid reason to do it, and I wanted to prove to myself that I could do it. So those are all the reasons that I wanted to try this no buy. And I suppose another reason is that like I am currently a stay-at-home parent, so we are 3 people living on 1 salary. We also live very close to the city centre in Dublin, which is one of the most expensive cities in Europe, probably in the world. Things are expensive. I just don't have the disposable income to be buying products that I don't really need. So that's another reason why I wanted to try this no buy. If you're someone who has clicked on this video because you want to do a no buy or a low buy, or you just want to reduce your consumption, I'm going to just give some tips on what I did to lessen the temptation and to help me to stick to my no buy. So I have some notes written down because I knew I would forget these. But the first thing that I did, and I did this at the very end of December, I think I started doing it kind of after Black Friday, because I kind of went a little bit mad around Black Friday, and I was like, right, I was gearing up for this no buy. I knew I was going to be trying to do it. So I think from December onwards, I just started unsubscribing to all of the brand newsletters that come into my inbox, to my email. I also deleted apps, so things like shopping apps of websites, not just beauty websites but also clothing websites. So I just deleted any apps that I had that would tempt me, because it's obviously so much easier, because usually with an app your details are already saved. It's so much easier to just go on and buy something and just not think about it. So I deleted any apps, got rid of any newsletters. I got a new bank card because my bank card was expired in February. So for about a month, I didn't even add my new card to any websites or anything at all, not even to my like Apple Pay or my Revolut or anything. I literally just kept it so that I wasn't using my card, because it was just another temptation, another way to spend more easily. So I thought, if I don't have my new card added to all of these websites, then it's that little bit more difficult for me to buy something, because I'm kind of like, oh, I have to go and get my card and add my card and all that kind of stuff. It's not a lot of work, but it's one more hurdle that would like stop me from doing it. So that's another thing that I did. Another big thing for me, and I know that this is a big thing for a lot of people, is other creators, other influencers, and the temptation that can arise from watching content. This is the biggest probably trigger for me. The biggest temptation for me is when I see people using products or showing new makeup or doing a look, and they're using something that I don't have, and I'm like, oh my god, I need that. Like I want to like recreate that look, so I need exactly what they have, when that's not the case at all. Chances are most makeup looks I can do with what I have, or I can adapt with what I have. So one thing that I did is to either unfollow or mute or unsubscribe from any content creator that I know kind of triggers me, or I don't want to say triggers me because that's really harsh, but anyone who I know kind of like tempts me, who is maybe doing a lot of reviews, a lot of like talking about a lot of new products, that kind of thing. There are some people who, like, obviously I love their content, so I still kind of consumed their content, but anyone who was maybe, you know, maybe I stopped watching some like new in makeup things, or I stopped like watching dedicated reviews because I was like, well, I'm just gonna want that product. That can also have the opposite effect, because sometimes when you watch those new in videos or reviews and stuff, it can make you think, oh, I don't actually need that product, which is what happened to me a lot when I did my beauty new releases videos. I ended up kind of thinking, you know what, none of these products are worth me spending my money on them. What I did instead was I made sure to seek out or spend time consuming the content of content creators and influencers and YouTubers who focus on more artistic videos, more creative videos, who maybe are on low buys or no buys, or focus on reducing your consumption and kind of working with what you have rather than always lusting after new products. So there are people like Hot Mess Tom, who I absolutely love their videos. They're very much focused on just using your products in your collection and loving your makeup and making it work for you, and instead of like just constantly buying loads of new products. Another one is Cloveroom, Cam from Cloveroom. There, I love their videos. Again, it's very much well, they were doing a no buy as well, so that was kind of nice to watch videos of someone who was doing the same thing as you and kind of see where you can kind of align your techniques to stop you from shopping. Also Queer Bones, my friend Colin, their videos I also love. They do a lot of reviews, but they're just more detailed, really like conscious consumerism, that kind of thing. So I love their videos and I loved watching them. Another one is Evangeline Molly, who I kind of just started watching a couple of months ago, and her videos are very much based around, not around reviews, but around just artistic looks, taking inspiration from everything around you and doing a look that is more focused on the look and the colours rather than the products being used. So she's another person who I've really been enjoying. There's a couple of people that I follow on TikTok. There is Alicia Berman, who has been she was doing like a no buy because she was trying to clear off her credit card debt. So that is another person that I was watching a lot. And there's another girl called Abby, I can't remember what her surname is, or if her surname is even on her account, but there is another girl called Abby. I'll put all these in the description box. And she was doing content based around recovering from a shopping addiction and her beauty shopping addiction and all the products that she had bought, and trying to reduce her consumption as well. So following people who are maybe doing the same thing as you, who are trying to reduce their consumption and not being as tempted to buy new products. So steering away from reviews and new products and going more towards content creators who are just really kind of using the same products again, using what they have and inspiring you with their makeup looks and inspiring you to go and use your own makeup collection. So that's what I focused on. Another thing that I found helpful was to go through my makeup collection in its entirety and see what I have and discover things that I haven't used in a while, or shop my stash, as they called it on YouTube years ago. But that's another thing that I did, was to really focus on what I have rather than lusting after things that I don't have and are probably not as good as what is already in my collection, because what is in my collection is there for a reason. Sometimes I'll get sent products impure and I will try it and it just won't be for me, and I will pass it along to a friend or a family member. If I receive something impure that I know I'm not going to use, or it's the wrong shade for me or something like that, I will just give it away unopened to, again, family or friends. Most people who come to my apartment will leave with some kind of beauty product, because I'm always kind of giving things away that I know I can't use or won't use. So yeah, it's really important to just focus on your collection, your products, using what you have, maybe getting rid of things that you don't use so that they're not cluttering up your collection. Because the more you have that you don't use, the less you use the things that you love, because it's kind of hard to see everything when there is like clutter and things that you're not using that are taking up space in your collection. I literally just last night went through my entire makeup collection apart from lips, because I did that earlier in the year, and I'm kind of happy with how my lips are at the moment because I've kind of like been giving things away as I go. But I went through all of my makeup last night. I cleaned everything, I dusted everything, I wiped down all my containers with antibacterial wipes, took some things out of my collection for a video that I'm going to do about products that didn't work for me, and then I took things out that are kind of smell weird or look weird, are not the right shade for me, are very clearly expired, or maybe are like quite old, or I think somebody else might get better use from. So that's another thing to do, is to just really look at your own products, because that way you're probably going to discover things that you haven't used in a while and that you're excited to use again. Because that's always what happens to me, is I'll get something new, I'll use it over and over and over and over, and I'll forget about something that I bought a few months ago or that I got last year. One of the reasons that I wanted to do this no buy was to focus on my own collection and use what I have and not let it go to waste, because obviously the more new products that you bring into your collection, the less you're going to use what you already have. Another thing that you can do, I didn't do this as much, but I kind of did a little bit sometimes, is to do like a project pan or a shop my stash, or to like rotate your makeup. So to maybe like at the start of the week create a weekly makeup bag, put some products in it that you haven't used in a while, or that you really want to use, or that you want to finish up, and just use those products, and then the next week do something different, so that it's not getting like stale or boring and you're constantly kind of using things that you haven't used in a while. Maybe like picking a palette that you haven't used in a while and just using that palette for a week and seeing how much you can use it. And I did this a few times, and it kind of made me realize that some products I needed to just kind of pass along because I wasn't using them and they were just going to waste in my collection. So that is something else that you can do. Another thing that I've been doing, I do this all the time anyway, but just kind of taking screenshots, going on Pinterest and making collections of makeup looks that you like, or things that inspire you, whether it's like a color combination, or it could be a makeup look that somebody did on the red carpet, it could be something like a movie still, just anything that strikes your interest or like inspires you or gives you some kind of a reaction. I have like a bunch of screenshots in my phone of like makeup inspiration, and if I am feeling maybe a little bit kind of uninspired, or like I don't know what to do that day, I'll just go through that album and I will inevitably find something that I want to try out. And that's another way to kind of keep your focus on creativity rather than newness and just always lusting after new products. So that is something that I mean I do it all the time anyway, just like scrolling on Pinterest, maybe just like type in 60s makeup or 70s makeup, or you know, trying to find people who have a similar colouring to you or a similar eye shape or face shape, and kind of focusing on the techniques and the looks that like you like, rather than focusing on products, because that way you're trying to like improve your overall makeup and wearing makeup that you like, instead of just thinking, oh, I need a new foundation or I need whatever. So that is another thing that you can do that I do all the time anyway. So I had a couple of rules for my no buy. I didn't want to be like super strict where I literally couldn't buy anything, because I knew that that wouldn't work for me. So basically, because the wedding was one of the big reasons why I wanted to do the no buy, one of the rules was that I could buy beauty products if they were specifically for the wedding. So I think I ended up only buying 3 or 4 things that were wedding specific. So I bought my wedding perfume, I bought my wedding lipstick and lip liner. I already had the lipstick, but it's nearly gone, it's years old. It's Lisa Eldridge Velvet Ribbon, so I wanted a fresh one. And I also bought the matching lip liner for that. And I also bought the Makeup by Mario bronzing serum, because I had ran out of the skin enhancer, and I thought that the liquid one might be better because it would last longer. I could have used another bronzer, but I knew that that one would be really, really subtle, and I kind of wanted to have makeup that are kind of like foolproof for me, that I knew I couldn't mess up. So that's why I decided to buy that. I think those were the only 4 products that I bought for the wedding. And then I was also allowing myself to buy replacements for products if I didn't have anything else in that category. So for example, I ran out of my brow pencil, I ran out of shampoo, moisturizer, like body moisturizer, my eye serum, my heat spray, my hair mousse, hand cream. So those things I replaced. I tried to spend the least amount of money as I could, get deals, buy things that were maybe a little bit less expensive. Oh, another thing I bought was the OPI Nail Envy, because my nails were breaking so much and I just wanted to make them a little bit stronger. So I bought that because I didn't have a like nail strengthener. Obviously, I'm aware that me doing a no buy is going to be different from somebody who is not a content creator doing a no buy, because I was still sent pure products, I was still sent new products to review. So it wasn't like I had this 6-month drought of no new products. I know that it wasn't as difficult for me as it would be for somebody who's not a content creator and isn't receiving press drops and new products that way, but I obviously still have to keep my content going. There were some emails that I said no to that I just didn't think were the right fit, or were products I knew I wouldn't use. So I only kind of said yes to products where I knew I would like to try them or use them or review them, or I think it would be helpful for me to try them. So that is another thing that I want to obviously say. I know that it's a privilege for me to be able to receive products for free to try out and to review and to use for content. And obviously that's not going to be the case for everybody. So I know that that is, a big difference between, me and somebody who isn't an influencer or a content creator who wants to do a no buy or a low buy. I'm still getting some newness. Obviously I just want to, give that as a disclaimer. I know that that is an area of privilege because of what I do as a content creator. So I just wanted to mention that because I know that that is a big kind of difference and it's kind of an important thing to note. So maybe you want to know, did I break my no buy? And the answer is yes. I don't even regret it because it is something that I have wanted since it was released last year. It was one of the last days of June. So it was like the last week of my no buy. I think it was like maybe the 28th of June. I got an email notification. This is the one email newsletter I didn't unsubscribe from. And that was that the Eldridge Liquid Silk Eyeshadow in the shade Ione was back in stock. And I hadn't tried these yet. I had ran out of my Hindash colour fluid. I wanted to use a liquid eyeshadow for my wedding, but I didn't actually have one because I ran out of the Hindash one, and I was like, look, I'm not going to buy one. I have an eyeshadow primer. I know what eyeshadows I'm going to wear. I'm not going to buy one. If it had come back in stock before the wedding, I would have bought it for the wedding because I really wanted to use it on the wedding day, but it just was out of stock on Lisa's website and on Space NK and in stores. I really wanted to try this formula, but it was mostly that colour because I really thought that that's going to be a great colour for me to use just as a wash of colour every day. It's kind of like a slightly cool toned, like minky taupey shade. So it came back into stock for the EU website a few days before the end of my no buy, and I just bought it straight away because I kept checking the website, like leading up to the wedding. I kept checking the website to see if that was back in stock. I went to Space NK in Dundrum. I went to the one on Grafton Street. I was trying to get my hands on this product because I really love a liquid eyeshadow, like a good neutral, and I wanted to wear it for my wedding and I just couldn't. And I was like, I'm not going to buy something in lieu of that isn't going to be as good or isn't going to be the right shade. It was just that specific shade that I wanted. Like, I know that Armani have them. I know that like there's other brands who have liquid eyeshadows, and I just really wanted that specific shade. So I was like, instead of me buying something for the wedding that is like a consolation prize, I'm just gonna wait until that one comes back into stock and then I'll buy it. So I did break my no buy rules for that product a few days before the end of my no buy. I wish it had come back into stock after, so I could have just said I didn't break my rules, but I just did. I did it, and I don't regret it because I love it. Like, I've used it a couple of times. I'm wearing it today with a shade from the Desert Gleam palette over it, and it's just such a great shade. So I don't regret that, but I do wish that I had been able to say that I hadn't broken my rules. So I did break my rules just a few days before the end of the no buy, and what are you going to do? Like, it is what it is. They were self-imposed rules, so no one is going to care except me. But that's the only time I did it. Another thing that I did while on the no buy is I kept a list of products in my phone, in my notes app, that I found interesting or that I thought I might want to buy or might want to try, or maybe would have bought if I hadn't been on a no buy. So at the end of the no buy, I could revisit those products and see if there was any that I wanted to remove from the list, or if I still wanted to try all of those products. And if the lust for the products had just gone and I was kind of like, you know what, I don't really want to try that anymore. I've seen reviews, it's not what I thought it was going to be. I've seen swatches, I don't think it's going to work on my skin tone, all of that kind of stuff. So I kept this list and I kept kind of going back to it. There's some brands on it, but there are also like specific products and specific shades on it. That's another thing that you can do, is just like make a list of all of the products that have sparked your interest or that you maybe would have bought if you weren't on a no buy or low buy. And at the end of your no buy, have a look and see, do you actually still want any of those products? So what I did was, at the end of my no buy, which was the end of June, there was a sale on, an anniversary sale on Yes Style, and I picked some products that were on that list and I bought some of them. And I also bought a couple of number 7 foundations that were, it was like a really good offer. And one thing that I discovered through this no buy is that there are so many of my complexion products just don't work on me, and they are what I would call hair down foundations. So they don't work unless my hair is down and I'm wearing like a high neck, you know. So I wanted to kind of just remove those from my collection and purchase a couple of complexion products that I know are really good shade matches for me. I also made a Stylovana order at the start of June that hasn't arrived yet because it was delayed, because they have some weird thing with their shipping where things are not available straight away, so they don't ship them until like, you know, 5 days later or 10 days later or whatever it is. So that order is due to come, and that's all skincare. It's SPF, cleansers, mists, things that I have either ran out of or was like getting to the end of, and kind of backups, and there was like some really good offers on that. So that was another order that I placed before the end of my no buy, but it was all things that I knew I would be running out of soon, and it was going to save me money in the long run because it was like things that were much cheaper to buy from Korea than from like Boots. So that is another thing that I bought, but it hasn't arrived yet. What I'm going to do from now on is I am not going to do a straight up no buy, but I'm going to do a very, very, very low buy. And I think the only way I will allow myself to buy something is if I have had it on my list for a month. So it has to be on my like makeup wish list for a month. And if I still want it after a month and the lust has gone, and I think that it would bring something new or something good to my collection, then I will perhaps allow myself to buy it. Maybe like the last 3 months of the year I might do a no buy, like October, November, December, just because I know that those are really heavy consumer driven months of the year. So I might do a no buy for those last 3 months of the year just to kind of like do a reset. I'm not back to normal. I am going to do a very, very low buy, and I'm going to kind of like have certain rules, like having that like 30-day waiting period, which is something that I saw on Alicia Berman's TikToks, where she was like, you know, if I'm going to buy something new, I have to like have it on, you know, have wanted it for like 30 days and then kind of say, okay, if I still really want it after that period of time, then maybe it is something that I could treat myself to if I haven't bought anything else, you know. And I have to kind of really think about it and think, you know, I have a very limited budget. Is this something that I want to spend that money on? Is there something else that I could spend my money on that might be better for me? And then also just thinking like, do I really need to buy this? Can I put that money towards a holiday? Can I put that money towards, you know, something else like a gig or something like that? So those are other things that you have to consider. I know that this is quite a rambly video and probably is a little bit all over the place, but hopefully you got something from this. As I said, I am not an expert. I am not somebody who has like tons of advice about saving money or not spending, all that kind of stuff. I'm probably like the last person who you should take advice from, but I'm just sharing what I did and what worked for me, and maybe just small changes that you could make if you're somebody who wants to spend less money on beauty products or on anything, like on clothes or whatever it is. For me, beauty products are like the thing that I like to spend my money on, that is like a little bit kind of, you know, a little bit of a nice luxury, a nice treat. So that's it. I hope you got something from this video. I hope it was in some way interesting or inspiring, or it might just make you consider making a small change to consume less and to try and create more, hopefully. So thank you so much for watching or listening. I'm sure it was probably more like listening because this is very rambly. If you like to give me a little thumbs up, leave a comment, let me know if you've ever done a low buy or a no buy. Yeah, that's everything. So thank you very much, and I will see you next week with another video.